For those of you who don't know me, and there's many new faces, and it's great to meet all of you, my name is Stacey Patterson. I'm the current president for Women in Management. And so I'm just going to take a few moments. I'm going to do some brief introductions, give you a little bit about women in management, and then I'll turn it over to Jennifer so that she can introduce Lynn and everything that we're doing today. So I won't take too much of our time so we can get to the heart of what we're here to do today. And I found myself a part of this group of, at the time, about 1 million people already who were expressing their experiences leading up to the election. And we're telling stories like, secretly I've been making phone calls for my candidate for 2 months, but I haven't been able to tell my family, or my husband, or my children, or my whomever. And I started to think, oh my gosh, there are all, at the time, there was about 1.5 million members. There are 1.5 million people out there, and how many of them are doing this in secret? How many of them are unable to communicate what's going on for them with the people that they know and love? And then we got to the election, and some of the stories started to shift. We started to hear things in this community, not all the stories, but stories of, I'm not allowed to go to my parents' house for Thanksgiving because they found out who I voted for and we don't agree. I thought, how heartbreaking that this is the stories that we're hearing. But as this group began to grow, it is now over 4 million people. There are communities all across the United States now that are taking what they've created in this secret place, and somehow at over 4 million people, they're still creating a space that I would say is not so much secret as it is safe. And have continued to be very thoughtful about who they bring in. There are all kinds of people. They're men, they're women, over 4 million individuals who are now thinking about, how do I take action in my community? So now those who feel a little less vulnerable maybe, feel like they can take action, are now stepping outside of this secret space, taking what is sacred about it out into the world and starting to form communities predominantly of women and allies who want to take action, who want to create these safe spaces for us to, whatever it is, run for office, change jobs, raise our children differently, just communicate and connect. And I thought I just wanted to bring that today because I feel like we're in a space that is about connecting with an organization that, even when all of us are busy and trying to connect and sometimes only see each other at these events, we're trying to do so much of what this group has had to do secretly, is to connect, to offer safe space for people to take a chance or do something new, meet somebody new. And so I'm going to circle it very quickly back to Women in Management, which is when it was founded in 1979 and all the way up until about not even 10 years ago, you had to apply to be a member. And I've always found this a little tricky. I kept thinking, I think it's because there were so few managers and leaders in 1979, women leaders, that was part of it. And I thought, I wonder if they were doing what this group has done. We're going to start with some like-minded folks. We're going to make sure that when you come into the fold, that you're helping us move in the same collective direction. And a handful of years ago, your board moved to make sure that this organization, you could join at your own free will. So I hope that you will, because I hope that what we've done is, over all of these years and all the work that your board is currently doing, and we sit in these amazing spaces, that you think about becoming a member, because it may be you putting your foot in the door for me, or me putting the foot in the door for you, or my just being able to be present while you put the foot in the door for yourself. Let's cheer each other on, shore each other up, and do some really great things. So, on all of that, may I very briefly have our board members raise their hands so that you at least see some faces with folks. We are a board of 15 members. So if you haven't met or seen some of the folks here, please introduce yourself. We want to get to know you. If you have questions, please reach out. Thank you for allowing me to take a little bit of your time. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jennifer to take us through the rest of our event. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Jennifer Sevra, for those that don't know, and I work on the Health Sciences campus in the Department of Medicine. And I am a board member, and I'm the Health Sciences Campus Speakers Series chair, or I guess chair, use that. Anyway, to introduce Lynn. Lynn Crandall is a mentor to me, and she's part of my extended family. I met Lynn Crandall when I started volunteering for the Reardon Volunteer Leadership Development Program, or the RVLDP. It's out of the LA Junior Chamber of Commerce. I then started working part-time and then full-time. The RVLDP taught board governance to young and older professionals. Professionals who wanted to help out in the nonprofit sector, but on a higher level. Lynn and I were able to understand the pulse of the nonprofit sector in our work and know that every nonprofit operates in an idiosyncratic fashion. I learned so much under her guidance. Lynn is a community activist and a person I can say has true altruistic intentions, always looking to partner people together to help promote economic self-sufficiency and social parity. Lynn is also a big advocate of the arts and artists, this gallery being a manifestation of that support. In terms of her background, Lynn Crandall received a BA from Northwestern University, an MA from Notre Dame, which I think she's one of the first women to do so.
I was there getting my degree before they let women in to Notre Dame.
Kind of an important kind of
very
thing.
secretive and under the wire.
Right. And she's the director of the USC IGM Art Gallery, which is just outside these doors. She has gone from being a teacher in Harlem, where her students at Julia Richmond High won second in the state in the high school division of the Martin Luther King Jr. Second Annual Arts and Sciences Living the Dream statewide contest. Then she has also moved on to being a board member of many boards, one of these being currently artangels.org. She has won many awards, one being the President's Lifetime Achievement Award for her lifetime of commitment to building a stronger nation through volunteer service, and was presented, and this award was presented to Lynn by President Obama. In addition, Hillary Rodham Clinton and President Bill Clinton designated Lynn as coordinator, Honor the Past, Imagine the Future, for the LA Millennium Community. I could go on, but without further ado, my friend and mentor, Lynn Crandall.
Wow. That was just the best introduction I could get. Stacy, everything that you said was so on the dime, and the whole thing about secretive. I'm just so moved and honored that you invited me, and it's so ironic that Jennifer would do it. And I'm just going to tell a little quickie on Jennifer, because I was working at the Reardon Leadership Development Program. I was the director at the Junior Chamber of Commerce, and all the directors were men except me, and all the men had women secretaries at that time. They were called secretaries, not administrators. And two women came in. One was a very mild-mannered and lovely Asian woman, and the other one was this ball-buster, great girl who walks in the room. And they said, Lynn, would you like to have her for your, because none of the guys wanted to work with Jennifer. And I saw this like great energy just came around the corner of my cubicle, and I immediately bonded with Jennifer. It was the greatest thing. And we took a program that was dedicated, that had, I don't know, $250 or something that we paid for food for every one of the dinners. And Jennifer and I sat down there and we figured out, I think we could go down to the Grand Central Market, buy the food ourselves, prepare it ourselves, and the rest of the money could pay Jennifer. And that's what we did. And everywhere we looked for existing resources that we could use our own intuition and ingenuity to make it better. And by the time Jennifer left to come work here at USC, she was a full-time paid employee of the Junior Chamber of Commerce with benefits, and so was the financial manager who also came here with us to USC at that time. And somehow or other, just that word secretive that you brought out, that is how it was. And you don't even realize, in 1942, when I was born, there were no women in management. And I had never heard of women in management, and I was kind of blaming myself when Jennifer called up and said that, but now I know I'm okay, because you were secret, and I wasn't supposed to know about you until you told me. So, all of that said, I think that it's incredibly important that we do exactly what Stacy said, which is begin to reveal ourselves in inclusive, non-competitive, transparent, and accountable manners, so that we can bring about economic self-sufficiency and social justice for all, not some, all, because we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if women can't do it, nobody can. And I'm just so proud to introduce to you some of the partners that we have here. Oh, quick. One just arrived. Just to give you an example of the way we too have for 16 years running this gallery slowly and quietly brought in partners who share and leverage existing resources with us. I'd like to introduce Terry Kruger from the Pachamama Alliance. And Terry, just give a very, very brief discussion about your organization and why it fits with the IGM Art Gallery.
Okay. Shall I start? Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me, Lynn, and I feel honored to be here. So the Pachamama Alliance is an organization that was started 20 years ago. We've recently had that anniversary, and it was an alliance that was formed with an indigenous group in the Ecuadorian rainforest. And the mission of the alliance was initially created to help people in that region of the world confront the fossil fuel industry that was overtaking their land. And they realized that there was no way they were going to be able to hold back what was coming towards them. And so, this is going to sound a little woo-woo. They reached out in dream time. To confront the world that was trying to overtake them. So it was part of their culture of not giving in, but of actually stepping up to the plate, basically, is what we would say. And their call was answered, and through that was born the Pachamama Alliance. And initially we were asked to help with just having them understand their basic rights, of land rights, just rights in general, to get their language written so that they could actually negotiate, and to teach them Spanish. And then they basically said to us, this is all very well and good, but if you really believe that your destiny is tied up with ours, what you really need to do is go back to the people of the North. That's what they call what we kind of think of as the West. Go back to the people of the North and wake them up from the dream that they are dreaming, the trance that they're in, that's getting us all into the situation we're in today, because we are all connected. And so out of that was born a symposium that I am a facilitator of, and my colleague Tuck here is also, we work together, a symposium called Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream. And it weaves together issues of social justice, environmental justice, and spiritual fulfillment. And so we came into Lynn's world through Lael. And what I loved, Stacey, where is Stacey, in your intro was your invitation for people to work together, because I think it's on the ground, it's on this level that the true message is going to become part of the general culture. And we have lofty ideas and goals often, but it's boots on the ground that are really going to make the big difference. And so I have been honored to be a part of Lynn's World here. I spoke a few weeks ago at the opening of one of her her exhibits here. And I love, Lynn, what you're doing here, weaving together people from your campus, from the outside world, and thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
Yeah. One day we'll have a greater opportunity, more time to share our message as well, which I think many of you will relate to.
That's what we're hoping for, that this room and your experience today will open your minds to all the opportunities that are existing here. We don't need to look at what isn't working. There's so much that is working, just an abundant amount of resources here at the library that Cynthia's going to help us work with, and over at the Price School, where Petraeus might be seriously considered to be Secretary of State, and Robin Goldberg is here from the Price School, where I met her at one of the Price School events, and I have a Price School mentee. And we have also Shar McBee, whose little table over here with To Lead is to Serve. She's an outstanding speaker who can help you with work that you're doing. We have artist in residence and advisory council members. Susan Hilbrand here, and she does spiritual matrices, and she's been working with Dr. Betty Finney, Elizabeth Finney, here at the IGM, and with Cheryl Kraft to bring the light within out of the scientists and help others understand the spirit that is behind rigorous scientific observation that understands cell behavior and the systemic relationship to our health, as we artists look at the human behavior and its systemic operations.
So I had the work on the walls here for the last year, and what I do is outline people with light, and they become photographs. And it's about what light do you bring to yourself, do you bring to your family, your community, and to the world. So with that on the wall, it's like, well, how do I interact with the people who use this building? And how is this related, bringing light to the people who are on the other side of the lab? Because my work was in the lab building over here in the hallways. So I wanted to connect with the scientists who are behind those walls.
So I'm just trying to hit as many people in the room here so that you know who people are. Shar is here in the bright green, and next to her in the slightly darker green is Susan. And we all work together with Lael, and Lael is with Poems for Peace. And she's the one who invited me to come to something, and because I do what Lael tells me, and I didn't know what was going on, I walked into this really cool place over on like 37 and
Are you talking about Fairbanks?
no, actually I'm talking with how you invited
Oh,
me
yes.
to come to Amity.
Yes.
That's how again, another secret thing, how we're meeting because we're drawn toward each other. There's something really magic going on here. I walk in to find Lael, and the place was already filled. I got there a little bit late because I took the metro and walked in, and I just sat down at a table and I started noticing that everybody around me has like tattoos from their fingertips all the way up to here and on their face and tattoos and everything. And they're young men and they kind of look like the kids I taught from Harlem in New York City, and they're comfortable and they're enjoying it. And then I noticed they have ankle bracelets on. And then I realized that Pachamama Alliance is helping young men transition from incarceration back into community contributors. And from that realization, I joined their awakening, game-changing intensive and the awakening.
The Awakening the Dreamer is the initial 4-hour symposium, and then there's an advanced program. That's what you do.
And then out of all of this also, Lael is doing the Poems for Peace, and just very briefly explain how that grew out of Texas and is taking over here also in just a magical way.
Thanks, Lynn. Hi. I'm so sorry that I was late. I had a doctor's appointment. They kept me. Because I hobbled in here.
Speak up, speak up.
Well, you don't need to hear that part. Anyway, thank you so much. There is a lot of magic happening here. I started with a salon I call YES. And YES is an acronym for Your Essential Self. And it's our belief that when you say yes from your essential self, from your essence, that you change your life, you change the world, one yes at a time. So that's how it started. I focused on events and people and things that were making a difference, things that people said yes to, that maybe didn't make sense to their minds but made sense to their hearts. And so the journey, as we've all heard from the head of the heart, is the longest one. So my friend Latifa Taramino from Austin, Texas, was the head of an international group called Subud International Cultural Association, SICA, and she started actually, Poems for Peace, in conjunction with Peace One Day, that was started by Jeremy Gilly, who along with Jude Law and a group of people was instrumental in the founding of One Day of Peace through the United Nations. So there was a declaration that was supposed to be made. 9/11 was 2002.
2001.
2001. Why do I get it?
2002 is when we started doing the memorials about.
Thank you. It was
We weren't prepared
2001.
for it.
On the steps of the United Nations was going to be this grand declaration for UN International Day of Peace, and none of the news people were there because it was preempted by something else. And the something else, as we all know now, was 9/11. And I find it particularly moving and actually important that those two events happened at the same time. Because out of darkness usually is when the light starts to crack open and start to show through. So Poems for United Nations Peace Day was declared to be September 21st every year, annually. It has been celebrated all over the world, but not in huge numbers. I like to compare it to the ecological movement, where we have the Green Festival, and Pachamama is a great part of that. But it started in a very small way, and now it's celebrated all over the world, and all of you know about it, and we have Green Festival, and we have green events. Well, Poems for Peace started in Austin by my friend, and in less than 2 years it became a mayoral proclamation to celebrate peace through the arts. And it started on 9/11 and actually became 10-day celebration using all of the arts. So poems, the word poetry really comes from the Greek word which means make, to make. So we're here to make peace. And inspired by her, that when I heard her speak about this, I thought, I'm doing these yes salons, and my inner yes was to move forward and do something with this. So I've had 2 events, and Lynn has been a co-founder, a co-sponsor for the last one. Our theme is to open hearts through the arts. And my dream is to have an initiative like they did in Austin for Los Angeles to be a leader of peace. We have a Peace Day Los Angeles that, along with other cities that are doing this, we're not alone, but we're certainly one of the biggest, and they're not done in the larger scale like they were in Austin, to have this become a leader as we move forward, and possibly we'll have the World's Fair.
Mhm.
So I hope you'll join, and if you're interested in finding out more about how you can participate, let's talk later. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So now we kind of see the why we're here together in this room and the magic that's bringing us together. And now I want to show us the what. I want us all to maybe talk a little bit about the what that we do. And I noticed that dropping in just a little bit late from the Marshall School of Business is Professor Terry Wolf over here. And he has brought his students here to the gallery, and we've worked with some startup business people like the chef who created your food in the back, Chef Richard Petty. And we're working with Palo Alto Research Center in the Marshall School of Business. That's bringing us together. And then also from another academic center, West LA College, I see that Lisa Kane has come in, and she also is with the Encounter Group at West LA Trade Tech, I'm sorry, with Professor Oliva. So somehow or other, without even really being conscious of it, or certainly not forcing anything, I've been drifting through Los Angeles, meeting so many of you wonderful people, and everybody does seem to have this desire to be inclusive, non-competitive, transparent, accountable, and have open-minded discussions where we dare to hear things we've never heard before or things we thought were wrong. But when you hear that from somebody that you love and trust, maybe somebody you eat with or play ball with or make poems with or help the incarcerated people transition, when you act with people and you learn that you need something, you need that hammer and that person's handing it to you, you don't care what race, creed, color, gender, or whatever. You're happy that person was there with the hammer. And that's the thing that bonds us, how we act together for the common good. And this is something that we're doing here at the Institute for Genetic Medicine. And here at this gallery that's 16 years old, and its whole purpose was to bring the dichotomy of our two campuses, the University Park campus, the UPC, together with the Health Science campus, the HSC. And from my background as an English teacher, I've tried to use communication to do that. In here, we have the USC News, and this is showing you what we had here about 2 weeks ago with the Masry Prize. And this is a prize that gave 3 scientists some funds to continue their work in neurogenetic science, optogenetics,